Hi, Jody Marketplace Boutique. I bought a bunch of railroad receipts and different kinds of goodies. Woo-hoo! I love this kind of stuff. You can definitely find these at auction near you. They're all written in that really old like ink, the Little Dipper and the pen. And I'll show you what I got. Okay, so here's like this huge box of different goodies. They're so interesting, and I love old antique ephemera. It's one of my favorite things to sell, and some of these are in really bad shape. But I thought I'd show you what kind of railroad things to look out for and how much they have been selling for currently. Just say it's definitely got like a related wear or a smell or something like that. Here is like a Telegraph, and that's what that looks like. This one's from 1901. All this stuff is really antique and old. Chicago Western Indiana Railroad, and here is just like a record. I mean, how cool is that? I haven't even looked at these things yet, so I'm excited to dive into this. So I thought I'd show you what you can find out there. And here's some records. Here's these old record sheets of employers. Now that's pretty cool. Paycheck stubs, that's what they look like. A lot of times they'll have like perforated void or something on there. Yeah, so these are neat. I'll be listing these soon. Sometimes those special things I don't get listed right away because I just like to enjoy them. I do have to say, if that's one thing I keep is like the ephemera stuff. I love, love, love old papers. So I was happy to like find these, and sometimes I don't care how much I'm paying. And I do make sure to have a separate business account for when things like this come up and I can afford to buy them. Yay, I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm going to show you what's out there, what you can find. Okay, today we're going to look at different railroad items that sell for pretty good money. So here, if you look here, look at this pocket watch. It's amazing. It's really old. And this is gold, large antique 1800 porcelain dial. Railroad pocket watch. Isn't that amazing? This is so neat. And this sold for over $11,000. Oh, look, it's even marked on the inside. Gold filled. That's just amazing. Oh, the insides are so neat. I love the little fonts. Oh, and here's like a little advertisement. Oh, that's like really cool. That is super neat. I can see why somebody wanted this. There are people out there that collect railroad items. Look at this, you might not think too much of it, but when you open it up and see all these other little marks, and if you look those things up, you can find more information. This thing sold for quite a bit of money. I mean, how exciting is that? Okay, so another thing that sells really well are railroad lanterns, and this one is a Grand Rapids. I wish I would have seen this. I don't know if I would have paid that much, but how awesome for the person who sold this and the person that bought it. And I used to actually live in one of the old railroad homes that were kind of on the stop. So this is like really interesting to me. And people that collect railroad items or people that collect things from their hometowns or the town they're living in, this is really, really neat for them. I mean, that's not something you can find at a local Walmart. How cool. And if you don't know what some of this stuff is, you can look it up, just type it in, or sometimes your Google phone will work too. Okay, so let's see. Here's the next one. And this is a brochure. And brochures, they sell pretty well. And this is a railroad system brochure in Canada. And here, oh, this is cool. Look at it, it's got a little photograph. That's really neat because it shows a piece of history. And those were people that were probably in the town, so anybody that lived in this town or interested in this town would be probably interested in this kind of thing. Or people that do genealogy would probably be interested in something like this. Here's a cool little map. That's neat, and actually maps are worth quite a bit too, the older ones. Interesting things in there. Okay, so that one sold for $79.80. And here is just the globe for a railroad. So here is how it's marked. It looks like CTR. I wonder if they knew what this was when they seen it. Now, if I seen something like this, I might not even know really what it is until I pick it up and take a look at it. This one sold for $305, and that's just the globe. So if you accidentally broke your globe to your awesome lantern that you have, you can replace it. Here's the 1850s Grand Trunk Railway Fixed Globe Lantern. This is neat. Look how old this is. CTR. I'll have to keep my eye out for that R at the end when I'm looking at things, because I often do come across things like this. So we live kind of in the area of a big, well-known I can't say that, railway, and a really big one that went through town over here and also where I grew up. So, and a lot of them came from Indiana and then went into Grand Rapids, and that was a major town in Michigan. Here is another thing that can sell really well. This is an 1876 Annual Report of Railroads, Canals, Navigation, Telegraph, Pennsylvania. Let's see what's in here. Okay, so this one looked like a book, and this is another thing. Are you stopping to look at old books? I do if I have time, but if I don't have time, I wouldn't even look at something like this if I didn't have a lot of time. Here's a really neat map on the inside. And here's what the inside of the book looks like. Yeah, definitely. If you see anything with a old like train on it, stop and take a look because it could be worth quite a bit of money. I'll have to make note of that myself to stop and look at some of these books more often. Now, if I go to estate sales and there's leftover books, I always, always, always buy the end lots and take them home with me. This one sold for $61.99. Okay, what do we have here? This is a 1880 Philadelphia Local Telegraph Company Gold Stock Reporting. Okay, Gold Stock Reporting Telegraph. All right. And here is a photo of it. And the interesting thing too on these is you can see who signed these. And I know a lot of genealogists like stuff like this because it could be a family member. So if you do list something, I would definitely put Clark. And this looks like it might be Beasley or Bestley. I'm not sure what that word is. Humphreys, definitely include those names in your listings if you're selling something. Also, if you add those names, say if you don't have enough room, you can add these names to the item specifics too, and that will pop up as it is a title. So that's just a little tip, but yeah, that's what that looks like. I love old papers. Here is a Wireless Telegraph Company of America 1808 annual report. Okay. Did this come out of a book or what is this here? So this looks like it came out of a book or maybe it was just papers. Now, if you were to pass something by, you might not even take a look at this. Telegraph items are really important into the railroads. I would definitely pick any kind of telegraph things up too. I mean, this one sold for $310, and I don't know why it has $16.95 shipping on it. However, it does. And I guess if you're collecting things, you just would consider the shipping, into the basic price of the item. 1912 Newcastle, Colorado, Railroad Depot Telegraph, Wells Fargo, Lantern photo. Okay, so here's a photograph, and it looks like, let's see. Yeah, this is a real photo postcard. And don't forget those photos of railroad stations. I love it when they have a little note on the back. It's so neat. This one sold for $45 for a postcard. I love postcards and old photos. Oh, look at these guys on here. Look at how cute they are. Just amazing to be able to look back in time like that. And this is why those lanterns are worth so much money, because they were there at the railroad stations. My eye goes right towards those railroad stations. I just think they're interesting. A lot of people are restoring them nowadays. However, the one in our town, which I thought was really cool, was just ripped down. And I took a photo a couple years ago for the Chamber of Commerce over here. Sorry if you hear my dog. Stop. That is Susan. Civil War Confederate Colonial Telegraph Office. Railroad letter signed. Now, how cool is this? Again, sorry about Susan. So it looks like they made some copies of like the local areas or what this letter pertained to. I think that is so cool. If you could put like a listing together and make copies of like stuff around that time, I think that would be awesome. I've actually always wanted to do that, but I've never taken the time. I just think it'd be really interesting to like give people more of a little bit more information to go along with these letters, because most people do not know how to look up things like this. So they're not gonna know how to find stuff. And that's why they pay more money. Maybe someday I will take just a little bit more time to do it. Yeah, and if you had like a printer right where you're working, it'd probably be really easy. But yeah, this is a really neat listing that somebody put together. I think that's awesome. They did a really, really good job on this. And this sold for $94.25, and really this probably took less than 10 minutes, I would say, to pull all this stuff up and print this and include it with a listing, unless they actually had this with it. I mean, I guess that could be, but I doubt it. So that's just another little tip if you want to add some more money to these listings if you find a cool letter. Here is a telegraph to a railroad pass. Oh boy, that's a mouthful. Can you imagine finding this of your family and they're signed? And this is the back. And I would say, you know, a lot of people might just pass these by, not really thinking, oh, what is this other than you know, an old piece of paper? And this sold for $100. So this little tiny paper can sell for quite a bit. It's a great way to make money, just to look for pieces of paper that other people throw away. Here is a canceled check from Carson and Colorado Railroad Company, 1889. Ooh, that's a lot of money for back then. Wow. Okay. So this is what this looks like. And it says Railroad Company there on the side. And it looks like just an old check. So that's neat. That sold for $75. And here we have a seat check. And I've actually never seen one of these in person, so this is neat. So it must be when you bought your ticket you would get this. This is from the 1860s, Queens, New York, and Flushing Railroad. That's really cool. So this was at $179, and it sold with make an offer. I can see somebody definitely just passing this by. It's very small. It's a small item, but it sure is worth a lot of money. Railroad Pacific Coast check. Now this is a check, as you can see. Oh, look at the horses. Oh, wow, that is so cool. It's like a wagon train. Is that why they called it wagon train? I never thought of that until now. That is a really cool picture on this check. And as you can see, there's a number there in the corner and an advertisement. Very, very neat. This is cool. And this sold for $160. And here is another thing that you can keep on the look for. This is a stock investor receipt book. Now, I do come across receipt books quite often. They're often found in estates, so if you can find them at estate sales or from people that are selling off estates, if you know of a local person that is cleaning out estates, you can always ask them, hey, where do you send your paper items, or what do you do with them? A lot of times they don't open these up to the public, from what I can see. and they go somewhere else and they're being sold like online or different auction places. But I don't ever see stuff like this in my area anyway come to auction, for a live auction anyway. Antique steamer, railroad supplies, waybill, receipt lot. And here they put it in a nice, like a binder protector. So this isn't a sheet protector. That's actually a really good idea. A lot of times they're kind of grimy and gross. So this is kind of a good idea to put in a protector. I really like that. So here's what these receipts look like. So if you see old receipts, I would just stop and look. And this one's really old. And make sure that you're getting the towns of where these things came from too. And any names at all you can find, because those are keywords people are definitely looking up. So here's some railroad receipts, some more. And a lot of times these are in pretty bad condition, if you can only imagine like what these things have been through, you know, even when they're traveling with them. So as you can see, they have some, you know, weather damage or whatever that is. And I would say most of the things you find are not like pristine, perfect condition, because these are old items. You know, these are things that traveled with people and shoved in their coat pockets, and the last 100 years could have been in somebody's basement. But how cool is this? So even if you find icky looking paper, just take a look at it. Definitely don't throw it out. And I love the idea that it's going in a sheet protector. So that was listed for $1.99 and an offer was taken. An offer was taken on this one too. Boston and Maine, stampless, damaged cotton shipment. Wants railroad to pay. Oh, okay. This looks like a letter with an envelope. Okay, so here's another little hint. And because they want the railroad to pay for some kind of damages, if you have a library or any kind of historical society, if you want more information, you can go there. Or if you have a newspapers.com, you can look up the dates that this happened. And here, and most people did put dates on their items back then. And here it is. And you can look this up and probably find a newspaper article about happenings. This could have been an issue that was published in the newspaper. And that's how I found out a lot of things on my family history that were just stuff that nobody ever talked about. And once you start digging into stuff like that, things get really, really interesting. Okay, so here for $84.50, this is a dividends railroad payable investors list ledger. Okay, so I think I just bought a bunch of those too in that box I just bought. Some people might even find these like in their basement or their parents' basement, grandparents, and they might throw them away because it just, you know, some of them can be like smelly and mildewy, or, you know, somebody might see this and go, I don't know what this is. I would see something like this and go, wow, look at this. Look at all these families in here. And all these people have families that are probably looking for genealogy things. So this is a great thing that a genealogist would buy, and railroad people. So here's the 1895 Chicago Great Western Railroad clergyman half fare pass. Okay. Oh, look at that leaf. That is cool. Here's their last name. Oh, that's neat. 1895. Isn't that cool? And this looks like a little map of how the railroad went. That's interesting. Okay, so here's just another little piece of paper to keep your eye out. And anytime you see like cool little font like that, I would definitely just take a moment. Definitely don't discard these little pieces of paper. This one sold for $181.37. Wow, that's amazing. Good find there. Okay, another thing that sells well, a railroad train napkins and tablecloths. $250. That's pretty good. Wow, that's a great find. I'm not sure if I would have even seen that and noticed anything other than it had some scribbly looking embroidery. I'm not even sure if I would have picked that out, so whoever found this, good job for them. And they don't have to be in pristine condition, but I would just note the condition when you're listing things. Here's one that sold for $3.97. A Minnesota and Northwestern Railroad 1887 Chicago. And this is a map. And this is what it looks like on the outside. It looks like this might have been times trains coming in. And here is the map. That's really neat. Oh, and it looks like somebody drew on it and maybe took a big vacation. That's cool. 1887. Isn't that amazing? And that font's a pretty big dead giveaway of the time there. And maps do sell really well. If you find an old map or even like a little trail map of the town, definitely stop and take a look at that. So here's a watercolor and pictures and watercolors and postcards. All that stuff from railroads sell really, really good. And here's a depot. And somebody did a beautiful watercolor. Oh, this one's actually really neat. It's very detailed. That is so cool. They really got down to every detail, and it's signed on the bottom. Definitely keep your eye out for any kind of art. Art usually sells pretty well. If you want to make good money, definitely invest in art. So this was $3.25 and they took an offer on that. Okay, here's Shadow Lake from East Union Pacific Railroad, Utah. Stereo view, old photo fishing. Okay, $381. Amazing. And this is an old photo. This is an old stereo view. I actually tried to buy some this week and they just kept outbidding me. I was really going up in price, but I tried to get some. Here they wrote on the back, and you can tell by the handwriting, like this is really old. And it was probably written with one of those ink pens. It does look like from the paper that it may have been repapered. Still sold for quite a bit of money. So $381, oh my goodness, maybe I should have kept bidding. Rare antique photograph of Quaker Civil War Underground Railroad operators. This was listed at $500 and an offer was taken. Let's take a look at this. Oh wow, look at that. That's very neat. Look at their old beards. And it looks like the lady on the right is in a mourning outfit, so she probably had lost her husband. What an amazing photo. It's very, very cool. So yeah, these are stuff that can be sold for quite a bit of money. And if things have names on the back, you can look these people up and figure out who they are or what kind of time period they lived in. Owned and operated an underground railroad during the Civil War. Oh, that's really neat. And it's got the Smith name. I am related to Smiths, but I don't think it's probably these. Very neat. And if you have ID, I would think those things would definitely be worth more in price. Oh, and here they blew it up so you could see really good that photograph. That dress looks very tight. I can't imagine squeezing myself into that. Oh, that looks so uncomfortable. Oh my goodness. And a lot of times if you look at these little badges that people wore, these medals or the buttons or sometimes the jewelry will be little indications of what they're doing or what time period this is. So, okay, and this is going to be the last one. This is a vintage railroad circus photo. Very neat. This one sold for $500. So I will definitely keep my eye out for something like this. Usually when I see any kind of like cattle or anything, I just turn my eye. But I will definitely have to keep my eye out for something like that. And it even has the date on the bottom, 1934. Yeah, and if you blow it up, you can see all these little extras. Isn't that amazing? It's definitely cool how they traveled back then. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something new and learned what to look out for when you're out there at those garage sales, estate sales, or live auctions. Okay, everybody, have an awesome day and good luck reselling.